see my mic? Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's fine. I'll just leave it there. Hello everybody. Yate. Siya Richard DeCrane and siya. Kitchini Bashichin Gagi de Dashanilla. Kuteya Denansle. Haro Leia Tayara Nasha. Ikuteya Denansle. Anyway, I was kind of rushing here to get everything set up. Can you give me some lime too? Thomas is giving me some hot water. So I like to drink hot water and lemonade. I'm kind of looking down. My camera is like up. Um, yeah, so today we're going to continue our talk about the dances. We're going to start off with the women's traditional. Women's traditional, in itself is really complicated. Can I get some more? Please, sir? Some lime. I gotta close this back window because soon those little girls are gonna be out and about. They get out of school soon. So let me close this window. Yep, just when I said it, I see the running out. Turn on some lights. I am dressed, not wearing pajamas. So last week, what did we talk about? I think we ended with fancy dancers, fancy war dancers, they say. So today we're going to continue our talk, and yeah, I'm moving on to another dance category. Usually, at the beginning of the powwows, there's a grand entry. During the grand entry, some of the first dancers are the traditional dancers. Thank you. Got a little bit of lemon squeeze. Yeah, I'm not sponsored by these lemon squeeze. A little hot water. Works really good. Yep, so how's everybody doing? I've been doing good. Just got my workout today. Did some yard work for my good friend Chris. So I'm a little sore. Anything else new besides that? Oh yeah, I got my first vaccine shot last week, last Wednesday. So did my daughter and my wife. Yeah, so it wasn't too bad as far as the vaccine shot goes. I got the shot. It doesn't hurt even more, but I got it here and it hurt. It didn't hurt when they gave it to me until after, maybe a couple hours later. Then it started hurting. So I, kind of moved around. They told me to do some push-ups, lift your arms up, and did a few exercises to get it going. But actually, I actually went to work on some cedar boxes, and at my wood shop, I have these sanders, and that's what I was using, and it worked out pretty good. But then, towards the evening, towards the knee, started hurting, and the next day, that's when my whole arms started hurting. It was like, oh, why does this hurt? It wasn't too bad, It wasn't that. I guess on a scale of 1 to 10, it's probably was like maybe a 4. Not too bad for a shot. I've had other shots. Actually, I don't know quite. I was a pincushion back when I was in the military. I had a bunch of different shots from anthrax to all kind of things. When you travel overseas with the military, they give you all kind of shots for wherever region that you're in. So I'm kind of used to having a bunch of shots. So I was probably actually already vaccinated somehow because I got the anthrax shot before. But anyway, I digress. Let's get on with the topic today. Is women's traditional dancing. So disclaimer again, like I said before, I'm not an expert. I don't claim to be an expert, but I have a lot of first-hand experience, first-hand knowledge. Traveling all over Indian country and going to different and many different celebrations, and being able to witness and have people that I look up to, mentors and other traditional peoples from different tribes, their stories of where and how they got the dance that they dance, traditional. For me, I can kind of speak for myself a little bit, but yet at the same time, um, crow style is what we dance where I'm from. Women's crow style. Usually they have the elk tooth dress. Elk tooth dress, they'll have as many elk tooth. It's said that that's how many, if you have a husband or someone that provides for you, that's how many elk that they caught, and so you were well taken care of if you had like mini elk tooth on your dress. And so you'll see the women up there, the crow style, will have a little bit of elk tooth all over the top of their skirt down to close to the waist area. And they also, I think we're known for our beading, our beadwork, our two needle beadwork. Really straight type of beadwork that's really recognizable. And usually they'll wear a scarf, and usually all the time for protection, we always use ermine, and it's both for the men and the women. We wear these white ermine, winter ermine they call them, or weasel some people call them. Usually you'll find one of those on us, whether it's in the back. Usually, and also our traditional women will wear like a scarf, nice decorated scarf, and also you'll see them wear like a little thin beadwork, and they'll also have paint. Like traditional dancers, there are times when you get paint, and there's family, traditional times that you'll be able to get paint, and then you'll wear it. Usually it's from your 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 clan uncle or clan aunt that does that, or an elder, or a veteran that will have be able to not reward you, but you know pass on that tradition of having paint on your face. Yeah, so it can get complicated. That's on my crow side. On my Navajo side, the women traditional Navajo dress. It's a little different. We normally, like I said before, we didn't dance in powwows, but I guess in contemporary times, we have a lot of Navajo women that do, wear their traditional outfits. Usually, it's made of a velvet material. Both the top and the bottom. Usually we have silversmith and turquoise. Turquoise is our protection, and they have silversmiths because a lot of our Navajos have silversmiths, and they would have certain things on them. Whether they were a warrior and stuff, you would wear certain things. Same for the Crow people. You would, depending on where you were at in your own family and your own tribe. You would wear certain things to represent them or whatever accomplishment or deed that you done. Including like on the Navajo side, they don't wear any feathers or plumes. Plumes are only used during ceremony, so it's not allowed during our traditional dress. But on the Crow side, we wear one plume. Usually they'll have it. I can't remember. It's like just on the side, or I can't remember the significance of it. But they usually have a plume. But yeah, so this is a discussion, about different traditional women's dances. That's the only two that come from my tribe. Um, Along with songs, we also have the um, buckskin dress. I guess you can kind of break them up. Women's traditional dancing into almost two different categories: the northern style and the southern style. But then there's a bunch of other ones too. So you can, but you can't. But I think most people are familiar with those two, southern style and northern style. The difference is, a lot of times the southern style will have smaller, not so much beadwork up top. They would have maybe a little bit of stitching beadwork here, but they would have, different medallions and stuff that would have, or they would have crowns. Some of the traditional dancers wear crowns, but up the north, yeah, they would wear like fully beaded top outfits in their buckskin dress. But even though, for us as Crow people, we also wear a buckskin dress, but it's not like fully beaded. It's kind of looks like the southern style. I think we have a lot of influences, and we influence tribes down there. One of our tribes that one of our allied tribes of the Kiowa people, we shared a lot with them, and they shared a lot with us. And that dress kind of reminds me of that kind of style from the southern or the south. Um, but Yeah, so there's thinking about so many different styles of traditional women traditional dancing. Um, from northern sun, depending on where you come from, there's even like applique. I guess from the Midwest, Northwest, there's applique style. It's different. They even have their own songs. If we get a chance to hear their songs, it's a little bit different. Um, but it kind of sounds the same, but it is actually different if you really know what to look for, what to hear, and it's kind of reminding me of this one special. They had a kind of a women's traditional special back up in Mandaree a couple of years back, and I remember it was pretty good. But at the same time, I think they danced to like five different songs. It was this family special. And a lot of money was given away. A lot of dancers went to that Mandaree celebration. But during that dance, I remember them announcing, the rules and how many songs they would do and what they would do, and still, the women had trouble knowing the difference between the different songs as they were trying to dance. And if you're like supposedly an expert powwow dancer, you're supposed to know all the different dance categories, all the different dance style, all the different music. And that time, they played the women's applique, and only some of them started moving like that. But they showed and demonstrated at the front of the powwow towards the MC booth. The lady kind of demonstrated what they were supposed to dance, but they didn't realize, and so it was kind of funny because they were dancing side step when they were supposed to be doing like a kind of like a bounce, kind of a step. Some people call it washboard, but washboard style, but it's a little different. So there's a northern cloth and there's a southern cloth also, and man, and just thinking about the different moving from east to west, there's a little bit difference up in the northwest. I think in Washington area, they also Washington, Oregon, they have also a crown or a basket crown, and or they have a crown and they have their own dance style and they have their own category. If you ever get a chance to see that kind of style, and so, but this, that celebration of Mandaree, they brought all the different types of women dance styles, and so they did the best they could try to do to make it fair. They play all the different versions of traditional songs. The drums were hit even with the crow style double beat. The women would have to dance that, and you had to know that style. And it was a lot of fun to just see that, witness everybody getting bucked off or overstepping or not doing the right step, and then the MC calling them out, saying, "Hey, they all look up here, look up front, look at this, look at this." The family, because the family was kind of trying to demonstrate into what the ladies had to do, and even when they did like a two step, a two step in itself is a song or dance where there's a male and a female partner, and they did this step, but it was actually the crow style, so they were doing a owl dance, you could say, or doorway, not doorway, a push dance, where it's basically the waltz, one step forward and two steps, one step back and two steps forward, one step back, two steps forward. Real simple dance that the Crow people started doing with the waltz, but um, they call it I just forgot the push dance. But anyway, they got to dance that, and it was kind of funny because when the women dance, they're supposed to pick someone besides their husband. They're supposed to pick the in-law, just to see, because if you pick your husband, then they know you're really jealous, or they're jealous, or somebody's jealous, and it's just kind of funny. But anyway, when they did that dance style, it just kind of reminded of all the different dance categories, and that powwow is pretty huge. They have a lot of different dance categories. If we get to go up to North Dakota to the Mandaree celebration, I know they had a whole list of different styles of women traditional dancing, and they try to satisfy everybody. I mean, there's so many different styles for different tribes. Even like the short fringe, it's a style that a lot of people don't see. It's like the buckskin outfit, and you'll see a really long fringe, and usually they're swinging their fringe really long. That's one of the things you'll kind of notice. But then up north, there's also the short fringe. I know some Blackfeet people do that short fringe style, and they're cute. They're just cute. They have little short, maybe about 5 inches fringe dancing. They kind of shake that little fringe, and it's really interesting the different styles, and they dance just a little different. So depending on where you're from, or what yeah, what tribe you're from, the women's traditional is very unique to itself. I know a few things, like even like thinking about the Shoban or the Shoshone, they kind of their dress almost looks like the crow style with the Elktus dress, but sometimes they'll put other things on there like little shells. I've seen a few dancers dance with the little shells, and I think that's kind of the Shoshone style dancing. But I've also seen other tribes, even all the Lakota, Nakota, Dakota. Those tribes in South Dakota, they have that kind of style. Sometimes they'll have like a pinny, like an old pinny style. But there was many different styles developed. But I think one thing that they kind of have, they always have a belt, but they always have like a knife. Significance of the knife. They're presenting a knife for protection, because as women, they're the ones that they bring life into the universe. So they were given a knife for protection of themselves, not to just go out and cook. I know some people start thinking that they give them a knife so they can go cut meat or go cook something, but it's actually more for their protection, because they bring life to people, and they need that type of protection. And so they were presented that, and they also have like an owl. I know that they would use that. These are two things that I know that, like in Lakota people, they kind of do that. They have that, and those, there's significance in those. And I don't want to share it or talk about it too much, because like I said, I am not from that tribe, but I've seen that and I've heard the stories. Um, Going around to different powwows and witnessing and seeing some of the origin stories, or some of the origins of what some of the pieces that the women traditional wear, the significance, even down, like everything has its own story, depending on where you come from. It's really, I know at times, when I see them dancing, and it's really beautiful, and I can see them. Sometimes, like I said before, I'll be a judge, and I'm like, oh man, there's so many different dance categories, different styles, and they're moving just a little different. But I know that's how they do it, that style, where they're from wherever their house is. And then all of a sudden they'll do a crow style, and then some of them don't know the dance beat, how it's supposed to be, kind of like a foot slide, a forward foot slide, and some of them will know, and that's when you can really judge them and say, oh, you don't know that, I know that, but I know that. But anyway, yeah, so it's really neat and different. I mean, you could look up on YouTube to see the different dances, and see the different dance characters, and usually you'll just see them dancing. Nobody really talks about where they come from, or what it's about, or the significance of each part. Each tribe is a little different. They adopted the powwow ways and the different dances, and where they got it, their origin story, where they got it from, and how they got it is very unique and significant to each tribe. Even how we got it here in California is a little unique and significant. I know here, if you go to some of the powwows, you'll see women's cloth and women's tradition, or women's cloth and women's buckskin and women's applique, or women's cloth, which is applique almost, but not really. But you'll see the different dance styles kind of categorized, and get um, like there's got to be at least 10, actually more than that, plus different traditional dress of each tribe. Like there's, like right now, we could talk about 572 tribes, if I'm off, probably off. But in each one of the tribes, they have their own style of dress, own style of dance, even up into Canada, like the into Canada, up into Alaska. I mean, all the way up there, you'll have that kind of a northern style. It's a little different. Um, wow, yeah, it's really, I can't really put a number, or how many dance style, or traditional dress there is, but there's over 572, let's just say that, different traditional dance styles that here, not all dance powwow, they get dressed for their own people. It's only been recently, like even the Navajo people that started dancing women's traditional, they would wear their Navajo traditional dress or regalia that we wear. Usually, we only get to see that during our song and dance, or during some of our ceremony they would do dress up. So the men would have that kind of that velvet, and also the concho belt and the turquoise, and the different moccasins that we have, high top, low top, whatever, sandals even, but sandal moccasins. I seen it the other day. I was looking up something and I was like, what the heck? Someone made some little flip flop Navajo sandals. But yeah, so that's a few stories that I have about women's traditional, where it comes from. It's usually the first song that comes in. And songs, talking about songs, they can be really specific to actually talking about women dancing versus like men dancing. I kind of talked about that before. The difference between the life givers, which are women, and the men that help with that life, but at the same time aren't part of it, but part of it. And then after that, the genders, as many genders that they are, and the stars in the sky, there's so many genders that come out of those two, men and women, from a mating perspective, I guess you could say. But anyway, just thinking about the dances and a lot of people and the good times. I think I had a really good time, just having to hear some of the powwows and having to witness some of the dance specials that people put on. It's just kind of miss it. Like I keep saying every week, I can really miss powwows, and at the same time, I've had enough to hold me over for a while. Um, when I go to powwows, I like to go from the beginning until the end, and I'll be the last one leaving the arena or something like that. But yeah, it's been good. Like I said, you can. I don't even know. I don't see any. I better check the comments. Last time we were looking in the comments. Oh, I got one comment, but I can't see it for some reason. I don't know. Remember, last 2 weeks I was trying to do this to the screen. I have another laptop. Well, it's my daughter's other laptop that I use sometime. Is this thing on, Thomas? Am I live? Can you hear me? Just kidding. Um, yeah, I can't see the comments if anybody's commenting. Yeah, so like I said, this is a discussion. I know we have a dance class here in San Diego, Soaring Eagles, and sometimes I get questioned, or people ask me, or my wife, or family, what things mean, and I do my best to explain it, but at the same time, we try to stick to the traditional dress of where you're from, or each tribe is from, and try to implement that into that dance style, and we try to sing the songs too, to go along with it. I know the kids, can only do so much on the internet, and as far as learning to do some of our dances, and I really, I can't wait to get back out there into our dance class down in San Diego, and really have watch the kids dance and the families coming together, and that form of camaraderie is really good for the community, as a whole, as a native community here in San Diego. I really miss that. Being able to go down there every week, I always looked forward to going down to San Diego and having that community involvement. People didn't have to pay me. I just had me and my friend Terry. We just went down and started setting up the drum, along with my friend Ben and Roy a while back. Um, and yeah, I was looking at Facebook the other day and saw that there was a Marine not too far. I don't live too far from MN Escondido, which is north part of San Diego, and not too far from us is Camp Pendleton. And Pendleton was pretty cool, because there was a couple of different. Oh, okay, there, finally popped up. I saw some comments. All right, some reason I don't know why I can't click on that to move it up. But okay, yes, it says we can hear you, Dave, Eli, Eldorado to San Diego, Miwok tribe. Cool. Yeah, this is a link to dance class. Oh, they have another dance class up there. I don't know why this doesn't want to move up or down. So weird. Thomas, Will this move up? I think because I have the camera over there and the comments are here. But anyway, my new setup is kind of keeping me from scrolling the comments, so I can't really.
There's only 3 comments.
Okay. Oh, maybe that's why there's
It's
only
not.
three. I see two. Cool. So there, I think there's a link. I can't see the link. All I see is there's a link to the dance class, but I don't see the link. Must be the comment below it. But yeah, so this is a discussion. Put some input if you have any input of the different styles of traditional women. Um, but it's very unique to different tribes. Where you come from. It's best to, if you can, if you ever get a chance to travel to some of the different events, different celebrations all across Indian country and witness, that type of style or that type of dances or their dances in general. Even, I always miss the food because every different tribe has a different way of making food, a different way of preparing buffalo or elk or moose. If you ever get the chance to go to Canada, or some of those upper along the border where the mooses are at, and even going into Washington, some of that food, where the Washington, they have the salmon. Um, oh man, I miss going early for a powwow sometimes because sometimes they'll do feeds or family feeds where they'll invite the public or invite visitors, which is always cool and always good. I remember going to some of the tribes in North Dakota. I keep talking about them because they always take care of visitors. They're always having gifts. They're in their giveaway. They'll call visitors come out from other states, and so sometimes I'll get lucky and go out there and get a really nice gift, a blanket, Pendleton. Even the Yaqui way down here, their traditional dress is a lot different. I've seen the men; they'll have the little deer on their head, and they have that one dance, the deer dance. I think that's what it was. The water. I can't remember. I've seen it before. It was pretty cool. I know they came and danced here. I have a family that came out one time and they did like a little performance, and we saw that. That was really, really unique. We're not limited to, and Yaqui, live in Mexico and not New Mexico, but Mexico and also along the bottom border of Arizona, New Mexico. Yeah, so many different tribes that are separated by a border, but at the same time they're still a tribe. Even here, the Kumeyaay people, even though there's a border there, there's Kumeyaay that go down all the way down to Baja, up, and then a bunch that come all the way up into my area, up in Escondido, and they're all spread out. And yeah, so it's really different and unique. I know recently, I know a lot of people have been starting to wear ribbon skirt dresses. Even tribes around here have been starting to wear ribbon skirt dresses, and well, some of the bird singing women, have been doing that for a long time, but they had their own type of style. Kind of the ribbon skirt kind of came from the middle of the United States, but here they have their own women skirts too. It's really unique when the people start getting crafty and started making their own outfits, their dance fits. I think it's always a good time. For me as a kid, I kind of learned from my grandma on my Navajo side, just watching her sew her own clothes. I remember she had one of those where she put her foot like this and it would move this thing and it would start spinning on the sew machine and she would be going real fast. It was like almost like a workout and she would be so and I'm just like looking at her, wow, that's pretty cool. And I always wanted to do it. And every time she wasn't using it, I would get on and try to play with it. It's pretty fun to play with. I think that we still have that sew machine at my grandma's house, which is pretty cool. So I kind of learned from her and also my aunts, watching my aunts and watching them make clothes. I know my aunt, Shemayaja, in my language, watching my aunt sew her clothes and make clothes for us and just learning how to sew and was, just like something that I did and I didn't really use it until, I got out of the military and got into dancing, the powwow dancing and the circuit and I started making my own dance outfits and just kind of took off from there and so a lot of my outfit, my regalia, I made myself, or I've made quite a few different regalia for my daughter, me and my wife, and my daughter all put together, put our work together, our minds and our ability to sew and put together things, and we made our own outfits, and we made our own dances. Not made our own dances, but made our own dance outfits. And it's, it's a good time, to be able to make your own outfit, to be able to make your own clothes, your own traditional clothes, and wear it like they used to. I remember almost every weekend, before COVID, I was able to get dressed in my Indian clothes, and it felt good. It's been a while since I put on my dance clothes, and um, I feel a little weird. I mean, I like wearing t-shirts and stuff, and sweats like everybody else during this pandemic, but I miss my dance clothes. I miss wearing it. I miss my tights. Hey, if you haven't seen me, I wear tights sometimes. Sometimes I don't. Hey, uh, but anyway, yeah. So, have you ever seen someone get dressed? Almost any dancer, you'll see tights, athletic, because it's athletic. Even some of the dresses, like the traditional dresses, the buckskin dresses, you ever get to pick up one. I remember one time I picked up my friend's dress. I was like, oh my god, this thing is so heavy. They're super heavy and weighted down, especially if they have all the beadwork on it. Those things are really dressed. I don't know how they move. Sometimes you'll see the dancers move it real smooth. And that's another thing about the dances, the women's traditionals. They kind of move really smooth and elegant. But then you get some songs like the applique where you're kind of bouncing, and even the women will dance to what's called a ruffle kind of dance, ruffle dance, where they'll kind of ruffle. The drum will be like, and then they'll kind of do that kind of beat, and it's a different beat. Um, um, Depending on where that, I think the middle of the United States, where that kind of song style came from, you have to know what song you're dancing to. Is really complicated. And the women's dress, I usually see them doing that, and that's why they're kind of moving really slow. I think because that dress is so heavy. But yeah, so it's just something I kind of noticed and got to see and witness, and that dress was so heavy that I don't know, I almost couldn't pick it up. I almost dropped it. I think I would have been in trouble if I just dropped it because buckskin is really hard to clean. There's some ways you can clean it. I know people have asked me um, that they usually use like a chalk or even some Ajax. No, they would use flour or like a chalk, and they would kind of rub it and clean it and just kind of dust it and rub it and clean it and just like that. You can't really wash buckskin or put it in water because if not, it's not gonna be the same. It's gonna get hard. And you don't want that. Even when you sweat, you don't want to be sweating in those things too much because that part of the dress will get hard. So usually you'll see a lot of people wearing tights underneath or like some stuff to absorb. And when they take their outfits off, it's kind of funny. They're all in tights. Even myself, it's kind of funny thinking about that. Um, yeah, so I think women's traditional has come a long ways, and a lot of different tribes have come in contemporary times are dancing that style, and sometimes it's hard to judge when there's different tribes with that almost a similar style. At the same time, a lot of different tribes that never have danced are dancing that style, and they take the style that they learned from, which is another tribe, and they're dancing, and you can't really tell the difference between some of the different tribes like you used to. Back in the day, you could tell the difference between the beadwork and what they had on their outfit, and it was really easy to tell the different tribes. But nowadays, it's really hard. I think because a lot of tribes have adopted, our dances and been learning them, which is good, you know. But at the same time, it's always good to pay respect to the original or the origin and know the origin story of where your dance comes from, who it comes from, if it does come from someone, or where if you have the rights to do different things or wear different things on the outfit. Not don't just put it on. Always ask an elder. Always ask someone that a traditional dancer that knows. Usually like a veteran or an elder that's in your community or in the community that it comes from to get those things. And there's a way to do it in a proper protocol. I would always tell people to do that. You need to look back to your tribe or the tribe that started this and ask. And usually, most of the time, they're really inviting and they'll bring you in and say thank you, yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's always good and respectful to always bring something, like a gift. Maybe you can cook some food or anything to continue that reciprocal relationship. That as Indian people, we have that reciprocal relationship with everything. In our lives. And even collecting plants for medicine. Even when you process animals There's always, you give tobacco and thank them and for doing the things that they do or they give to you and maybe they give back. And there's always that um, circle of life that, that helps us all to succeed and be good. And so, as traditional people, I know have, been able to sit down to quite a few different Indian people, Native women that, I don't know, sometimes I'll be at a powwow and then sometimes these old ladies just like to sit by me and just start talking to me. I remember one time at this powwow, this lady was telling me everything about the about the different dancers and the powwow. I got the whole 411, a 911, whatever, the 411, the whole breakdown. And I was just happened to be sitting next to her, and she just started talking to me, and and she told me all this stuff, and I was like, oh wow, it's cool. And it was really interesting. I um, wasn't rude or bored. I was just happy. I just got there early. It was early in the morning, and we just started talking, and she was just telling me all the things about the traditional dancing and where her tribe got it from, why the dancing, why I don't know. And she always, of course, she says, I don't know why some of these people don't know this. They need to learn what the feathers mean, the dropping, and even like I was always taught that if the women, one of the most sacred feathers is that plume if it ever falls in the dance arena, and that kind of ceremonial setting, it's usually the women or an elder woman or whoever has the rights to pick that up was usually the elder women, and she would have that right to pick up. Not a male veteran or a man would be even allowed to pick that up. They would pick that up and they would be able to do what they did. And so above all the feathers, that the plume is usually the most significant, the one that's well taken care of, and only worn usually by the life givers, our women dancers. But at the same time, we get gifted plumes. I know the Crow men, we wear a plume too, um, to represent different things, different societies or different parts that you're part of or represent. So it's a lot. It gets really complicated depending on where you're from, what tribe you're from. Wearing crowns, I know there's a lot of people that have a lot of crowns. Even in the local area, they would have a beaded crown, but they don't know the significance of it. But a lot of times, those were you could say royalty or some of the tribes back in the day, had families that were the leaders, and those families and those leaders that would be able to wear that crown to represent. But nowadays, you can't even tell. Like everybody's wearing a crown. It's like, oh, okay, and everybody's wearing a feather. Back in the day, it used to be like if a feather is one single feather or two feathers, it would mean something that you're single or not single. Now you can't even tell because they'll wear two, or they'll wear one, or they'll wear it this way, or they'll wear it that way, and you can't even tell. We try to go up and challenge somebody. um, they don't know, they don't know where that traditional or the significance where that comes from. But it gets complicated, and it's really something to think about and to talk about and to learn about. If you want to dance that style, go figure out what tribe does it and learn, and witness and be able to hear those times that if you get to travel around to different powwows and hear those special times when they actually have an announcer or a person that's speaking for the family to tell you the significance or the story of where the things that they wear come from, and the true meaning, the origin story of where it comes from. And it's really something to do, something here. I think even right now, I think a lot of us are healing, getting better. I got my first COVID shot. I'm going to be getting my second. I know I always give updates about my mom. My mom was working the front lines, and she says they went from vaccinating almost every day or every other day 1,000 patients, and so they pretty much got everybody on the Navajo Nation vaccinated. They went from 1,000 a day. Now they started out at 1,000. Like there's probably like 6 different or 7 Indian healths in New Mexico and Arizona and Utah and Colorado, because that's kind of where Navajo Nation's at. And my mom was telling me that each of those different Indian healths opened up and started putting 1,000 shots every day, and people were getting mad. And she was just telling me the other day about that, how people were getting mad, upset because they only got 1,000. They were there for I don't know how many they wanted to pull, but but now the numbers that they're doing now are down to like 300. I know I went down to the Indian Health, and I guess it was a good day last 2 weeks ago before I got there that they were really super busy. I think they had 300 and plus on a rainy day, and it was like storming, and they were still giving shots. And I know when I went last week, it was a really nice day, nice and cool. We were underneath the parking structure, and they took care of us, kind of all separated in chairs. And they had music playing, and they had you walk in this kind of a line. It was kind of funny, but I didn't really. I just cut across. And sometimes, but the next time I walked through the line, and they came up. There was Carolina telling people where to go, and they had set up on this side. All the nurses and the doctors had the shots, and they were witnessing. The nurses were walking around and watching the people. And on one side, it was a bunch of chairs separated 6 feet apart, front and back, and these chairs, everybody was sitting there, and it was pretty, pretty well run. Everything went smooth. There was a check-in kind of booth area that you had to go through, and I think where my mom, they kind of did the same thing, but at the same time they had a kind of a drive-up style. It was a little different for my mom in New Mexico. I think also because it was winter months, and try to put a canopy or something out there like in the middle of nowhere, and the thing would blow away. So they had to use cars, and they got out of the car and got the shot and got back in the car, and they drove off. Got out of the car and got back in and drove off. It was really kind of different. That was only for some of the setups that they had, because sometimes they had to go out to a rural area. I know my mom was traveling about 45 minutes to. She didn't give the shot, but she does the paperwork. But she was out there doing paperwork and stuff to sign people up or to check, make sure they're to check their chart number. Hey, yeah. So I think the Navajo Nation, really hit the news a while back. But they've been well vaccinated, and they just opened up their casino. I think, what am I doing? Anyway, I digress. Here in San Diego, it's been a nice day. I think it was kind of overcast and a little rainy today, but kind of cold the other day. But anyway, so it's women's traditional dancing. There's a lot of stories about it, and, that you can learn, that you can talk, or people that you can talk to. Like I said, and I think next week we're going to continue our talk on the dances and move on to, oh, I guess jingle dress, and then fancy shawl. So those are kind of the main ones that we're going to talk about. And if somehow I missed something, let me know. In the comments. If you have any input, like I said, I'm not the only um, culture keeper. There's a lot of our historians in each tribe. And like I said, this is a discussion. So if you want to add something to the comments, that'd be great. I'll read it later, or I'll read it now. Yeah, deer dance, ancient fire dance, ghost dance. Yeah, Caesar Calabro has a lot of Terra Angus de la Aztecas. Yes, the Aztec people too. We have a lot of Aztec people that come and dance and do performances. They have their own, that's their deep, their own form of dress too, and significance of that too. And like I said, I'm not an expert, but yeah, our Aztec dancers. There's many different Aztec tribes, you could say, also in different dance groups in the Aztec community. I know there's quite a few. Even up in, I was kind of surprised, up in Montana they have an Aztec dance group. I was like, what? Oh, and then all the way up in North Dakota, I was like, what? Freaking out. In some of these places, that have Aztec dancers. But just thinking about that, it's like they came out one time and they did a performance. And like, what? I'm in the middle of where I would never, far from Mexico, and Aztec dancers are coming out or coming through. I'm like, what? Up in Washington, North Dakota. Yeah, we celebrate, our with our Aztec people, or our um, people south of the border, are also Native American or Native. Last I checked, this is there's a North America and a South America, and it's both America. And so we sometimes we kind of limit ourselves by the borders. Indigenous traditional people, all the way down to the south, all the way up to the north, are all indigenous people. That you know have a lot of trauma, but are still alive, have survived and cultivated, and are still here with our languages, and we're still proud. And I remember witnessing and seeing it on even on the when they had the Olympics up in Washington, Canada, area a couple of years back, and seeing all the different dances was really cool. They came out and represented. Even like thinking about Hawaii and some of the, I usually like to have the Hawaiian dancers come out, and there's different Pacific Islanders, different tribes there. You know, Pacific Island. You know, how many of the different people in the Sandwich Islands, and even going all the way down to New Zealand, the traditional people, all over the world. Can even say there's indigenous people to each land, and their different dress and their different outfits. It's very unique. You know, to me, it's very interesting to learn and watch and kind of check them out and see. So hopefully I did it justice and kind of shared a little bit of knowledge that I know. Like I said, drop some, some information into the comments. You know, this is a discussion. I don't claim to know everything. And I think at the same time, I like to learn a lot more than what I do know. And this information, is not top secret or nothing like that. You know, sometimes information people think information or teachings are top secret and they can't share it with nobody. But at the same time, I was always taught to give that information. You know, it's not yours to keep. You know, even like songs, sometimes you get power dancers, power singers that say, "Oh, this is my song," but it's actually, I was always taught as a singer to, that song was given to you by the Creator, and it's for the people, and that's who it belongs to, the people, not just one person. Even though at times, like there's times, that the song is sung about the person, but and it has their name, but at the same time, it can be used for different family members. So it doesn't really belong to you, but it belongs to the family, maybe. So it still encompasses that idea of not belonging to one specific person. But anyway, talking about songs and stuff, there's a lot of protocols in that. So maybe at the end of the dances, I'll talk more about drumming and singing and what's the difference between a drummer and a singer. If you're a drummer, or are you a singer? There's a big difference in where you're from, what song style. So being a power dancer is really complicated. You have to know each dance, each song, each where it comes from, and be able to dance to it and get it right and be on beat and be on time if you're going to compete in competitions or dance competitions. And it's really, it's really fun, and I can't wait to get back to it. I know it's going to be soon that we're going to be all vaccinated and all get shots, and we're able to do powwow again. It'll be a lot of fun. So I guess you guys tune in next week. I'm going to be talking about Jingle Dress and trying to talk about the origin story of Jingle Dress. Like I said, I'm just going to tell you the stories that I heard and share some stories of different dance exhibitions and different dance things that I've witnessed in the power circuit all across the Indian country. So you guys, thank you guys for tuning in. The three people that are still here from listening to me talk. Hey, it's probably myself and my son. But yeah, so guys, you guys have a good day, have a good night, have a good evening, whatever time it is for you, because I know this is going to be on YouTube now. If you haven't subscribed to YouTube, subscribe, hit the like, comment, hit the subscribe, virtual fist bump, virtual handshake, virtual hug for everybody, virtual hug to myself, and Smudge, don't judge. You guys have a good day. Aho.